The Galaxy Z Fold 6 costs $100 more than the Galaxy Z Fold 5. It is lighter, but basically does the same thing. If you want the short review, that is basically it. But if you want the long in-depth review, just stick around for the rest of the video. I got 8 categories for you. Each one I have a ranking from 1 to 5. By the end of the video, I will give this phone one final grade. Without wasting any more time, let's jump straight into it. First category I have is cool factor and design. I give this phone a 4 out of 5. At the end of the day, it's a cooling phone. It folds into a tablet. It turns into a smaller phone once you fold it up. I subtract a point because after the novelty factor wears off, it's basically the same phone over the last 5 years. There's really no major changes. The crease is still there and it looks ugly. The OnePlus Open does a better job with the crease. For whatever reason, Samsung hasn't done much with the crease, even though they say it improved a little bit. But personally, at a glance, I wouldn't be able to tell the difference unless you have two phones side by side. Maybe you will be able to see it, but at the end of the day, the crease is still there and definitely a lot of room for improvement. But the biggest change with the phone this year is they made it significantly lighter. So about the same size as the OnePlus Open, which I think is a good weight. I wouldn't mind them shaving up a few more grams, but it is fine for what it is. Still heavier than the Galaxy S24 Ultra, but much lighter than the Galaxy Z Fold 5. As a result, it's much easier to use with one hand when walking around, recording video, taking pictures, doing vlogs, and just holding the phone on a normal day basis, taking in out of your pocket. It makes life so much easier, and that is probably the biggest improvement of this phone. And just using it as a phone in general is satisfying to close up the phone whenever you're done using it. When it is closed, it does wobble. You leave it on the table, the camera is still protruding. Even you leave it there and don't really do much, it's just kind of just wobbling on its own unless you slap a case on it. I like to use my phone without cases, so unfortunately there's something I have to deal with. It's not the end of the world, but sometimes maybe just sitting on the table, you're tapping with one hand just to type. You kind of feel obligated to pick it up and use two hands just because it's annoying when it's wobbling around when you're typing. The corners of this phone are squared off this year. I personally don't like it. It kind of jabs in my hand as I'm holding it. It feels sharp. Occasionally if it's in my pocket, I'm wearing shorts. Some shorts have smaller pockets than other, then the phone kind of stick out. And as a result, if I'm walking and swinging my hand, occasionally I do graze against the phone and it hurts. It's a bigger phone. It's like two phones folded together, so it hurts more than just having a regular phone. So I want to give a quick shout out to my partner Mint Mobile. Currently they offer 5G plan for as low as $15 a month. You get unlimited internet, texting, and calling. It is a limited time offer. You do have to purchase 3 months up front, but it is a great deal, so make sure to check it out. Link in the description below. Next category is battery. I give this phone a 3 out of 5. The battery is actually mediocre on this phone. On average, I get from 12 to 16 hours, and for a $2,000 phone, this is unacceptable. I get a much better battery life on the OnePlus Open, lasting at least 20 hours if not more. And this is me using the phone normally, and even when I plug it in just to charge it and I check the battery option, it literally tells me a full charge will last me 12 hours. So that's what the phone is telling me without me using the phone at all, and that's just really bad battery life. Luckily it has 45 watt fast charging, but you gotta buy a brick for that. Does not come included like the OnePlus Open. It does have wireless charging, so if you're sitting at your desk all day, just slap it on your wireless charger. If you're driving around, plug it to Android Auto. So it does need some additional supplementing, and if you do those extra things, it's definitely gonna last you throughout the day. But if you don't, you want to go through a full day without touching a charger at all, it's not gonna last a full day. So 3 out of 5 there. Definitely disappointing, especially with the new chip and everything and the new vapor chamber. You expect the cooling and everything. You would think the cooling would help with the battery life, but unfortunately it does not. Customization features, I give this phone a 4 out of 5. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a phone that turns into a tablet. The camera is okay. Processor, you're getting the latest and greatest in 2024. It has DeX. Worth pointing out because the Flip series does not have Samsung DeX, which is a desktop mode. I don't really use it that often, but it's nice to have. So just something to keep in mind if you're considering getting a smaller folding phone. The smaller phone does not have Samsung DeX. Even though some of Samsung cheaper phones does have DeX, but for whatever reason, they cannot cram it into the Flip series. Z Fold 6 does have S Pen support. Although it does not have the S Pen included, if you do want the S Pen, you have to buy a case with a pen attached to it. I personally think it's ugly. I don't like using cases. I don't want to carry around a giant pen, but if you do want to use the S Pen, you can. Ironically enough, the S Pen, you cannot use it on any other phone. If you use a Samsung stylus, it only works with Samsung phone. You cannot use a Samsung stylus and then try to use it on S24 base model. You can only use it on the model that supports the S Pen, which in the past used to be the Galaxy Notes. But S Pen, I'm not that creative, my writing's terrible, so I can personally live without it. I mean, you're getting all the same standard camera features, the dual recording mode, portrait video, slow-mo, all that is still in here. You get the 2600 nits peak brightness just like the Galaxy S24. So all that is great, but at the end of the day, there's still a lot of compromises for a really expensive phone. You're only getting IP48 compared to 68 on the standard S model, and you cannot use this phone when the screen is wet. So even there's a little bit of water on it, you're brushing your teeth, washing your face, water gets on the phone, you gotta wipe off the phone if it's in tablet mode in order for you to use it. With the Galaxy S24, I can literally use that phone while I'm in the shower. I can type out notes, I can type out a full essay, or text people, yell at them in the shower if I wanted to. I cannot do that with the Galaxy Z Fold 6, even though it is a more expensive phone. And the camera itself is not the best camera that Samsung has to offer. That is the Galaxy S24 Ultra, which is $1,900. The Ultra is $1,300, $600 cheaper. So you're literally just paying for the ability to have the tablet in your pocket with the folding series. But if you want the best phone, the best camera, maybe even the best battery, that is the S24 Ultra. Speaking of camera, this leads me to the next category, 3 out of 5, just because everything I just said. The main camera is good, the under display camera is terrible. So if you have this phone dock and you want to use the camera in like a webcam mode or zooming, you're using the worst camera on the phone. But that camera allows you to see yourself and frame yourself as you're recording. If you want to use a better camera, you gotta flip the phone around and use the main camera. But you're doing that, and there's no screen for you to preview yourself because the other screen is facing down, and then you're looking at the back of the camera lens just like any other regular phone. I guess if you can buy like a mirror, slap on the back of your phone, if you can rely on the little reflection if you're not using a case. So docking mode is awkward, it's not that practical. And I noticed when taking pictures with this phone, there is shutter lag. So if I snap a picture, if I'm doing a selfie with my son and I, you think you're taking a picture when you press the button, there's actually like half a second delay. So if he ends up running away, you get a terrible picture. And that actually happened to me a lot. Maybe they can fix it with a software update, but this time it's still an ongoing issue for me. But once again, being an expensive phone, little things you still got to deal with, and it's not really optimized. Zoom wise, you only get 3x zoom, the same as the base model S24. You want the 5x zoom, you got to get the S24 Ultra. The wide angle camera is better on this phone this year for night mode. Me personally, I haven't done a lot of testing, or I'm not really going outside at night taking the pictures in the dark, so I haven't had a chance to test it, but I'll take Samsung's word for it. In general, all the cameras is pretty decent, and along with all the camera tricks, you get some of the AI stuff as well. You can do the AI interpreter mode, the AI art mode. It's nice to have, something I don't really play with, but if you're into those things, it's equipped with a bunch of features whether you use them or not. So next category I have is updates. This is a 5 out of 5. You're getting 7 years of software updates. This may or may not justify the $100 increase this year, but Google Pixel 8 started it. Samsung did the same thing with the S24 series, and now you're seeing it on the Fold series as well. I'm not sure if this phone's actually going to last 7 years. I have the Galaxy Z Flip 5, well, my wife had it, and it did not last her half a year. She's not flicking it or doing anything crazy like I am. She has it in a case, but after 6 months of having it, totally died. I don't know. There's always going to be people who say they have like the original Galaxy Z Flip phone or Z Fold and it still works to this day, but for me personally, that's just one example. It's anecdotal, but I'm still skeptical about these folding screen in terms of how long they'll last. 7 years is a long time, and I personally don't think it's going to hold up, but we shall see. Whoever still have the original Galaxy Z Fold, however many years it's been, 5 or 6 years, let me know if your phone is still working perfectly as it is from day one. So ease of use, I give this phone a 4 out of 5. I'm glad they made it a little bit bigger on the outside. It's not that noticeable, but it is lighter, so it's more comfortable to use with one hand compared to prior years. Other than that, it's still long and skinny, still a tad heavy. It was a little bit lighter. If the docking mode wasn't so awkward, I would have given it a 5 out of 5, but I just knock off a point just because there's some weird quirks about using a folding phone. Performance, I give this phone a 4 out of 5. It is the newest chip that it has to offer, but there is a lot of overheating issue despite there being a larger cooler chamber. Light gaming, like Pokemon trading card game, I feel that my camera hub area gets warm. Even video recording, I don't know, 5 to 10 minutes, I can feel the phone getting hot. So as a result of that, the battery life is poor. and it's definitely a lot of room for improvement there. Finally, the last category is value. I give this phone a 2 out of 5. Oftentimes, the most expensive phone is not the most valuable phone. The most valuable phone is generally the base model. $800, you get all Samsung's premium specs in a smaller form factor. If you want to get even more value, then consider the A series, but at that point, you're sacrificing some performance. But this phone is $1,900, $100 more than last year after taxes. You buy any accessories, it's going to be at least $2,000, if not more. I don't think it's worth it. You're getting a lighter phone, you're getting 7 years of software updates. Nothing else is really noticeable on a day-to-day basis, easier to use with one hand. If you plan to keep this phone for 7 years, then I don't know, it'll average out to be roughly $271 a year. That may be worth it for you. But for me, I feel like the highest and most expensive phone is meant for Samsung enthusiasts. Most of these people are changing their phone every year anyways, and they will often want the latest and greatest, coolest phone. So it's nice to have 7 years, but most people who buy phones in this range wouldn't necessarily keep it for this long. I think the value-seeking customers, people looking for a phone $800 and below, those are the people who tend to keep the phones longer. So this is once again an enthusiast phone. It is expensive phone for what it is. If you want the best phone from Samsung, it is the Galaxy S24 Ultra. If you want the coolest phone, it might be this phone, but it's gonna cost you a few pennies more. So Samsung got phones for everybody. At the end of the day, meant for the daredevils, the early adopters, those who like to take risks, can afford it and like to play with new things. It is fun, it's expensive, but it comes with a lot of compromises. Still a cool phone. I personally wouldn't pay $2,000 for this phone. It's a small upgrade with a lot of room for improvement. Alright, so with this phone, you get a final score 29 out of 40, so 73%. Just a solid C for this phone. The biggest thing that drives down the value of this phone is the value category, which is 2 out of 5, camera 3 out of 5, and battery life. So if those things were better, it would have made this phone a much better overall grade. But unfortunately, I think it's expensive and it's not really good value or something I would recommend to most people. If I had $2,000 to spend, I would just get a really good phone at $800 and get a decent tablet at $500 to $600, and you still have like $600 or $700 to spare. So I would rather go that route than having a tablet in my pocket all the time, which you may or may not need most of the time. A lot of time I just end up using this phone in the folded mode and not necessarily in the tablet mode. So just something to keep in mind depending on your lifestyle. Alright guys, thank you for watching. Remember to like and subscribe. Let me know your thoughts are on Galaxy Z Fold 6, and if you agree with my assessment, let me know if there's anything else you want me to cover. Remember to like and subscribe. Appreciate the time as always, and see you guys in the next video.